live stream.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But she's not even paying.
Hey, to go up.
She's not even paying attention.
Okay, Jack, we are live on YouTube.
Awesome. Great. Thanks everyone for joining. We have a pretty packed agenda, list of things to talk about. Why don't we go ahead and get started? First up is the review of the Third Avenue Summer Stroll application, ID 772385.
Okay, and so there are 4 dates, 7/19 and 8, July 19th and August 2nd, along Third Avenue between 82nd Street and Marine, and July 26th and August 9th on Third Avenue between 82nd Street and 68th Street. And Dan Texiera, the president of the Third Avenue Merchants, is here. Dan?
Thank you for having me. We acknowledge there's one major issue, and that's regarding the 90th Street to 92nd Street by Food Town. So as in the past, we kept the streets open for vehicle traffic so they can go up down 92nd Street, down to, they can make a right on Third, go into the parking lot, and they can exit up 91st Street. In the past, we've had marshals and CERT there. And we usually put 3 marshals on those blocks and CERT to help out. So we acknowledge that that's an issue, but we really can't, we have so many businesses past 92nd Street,
Yeah.
so we can't stop the stroll because it disenfranchises a good amount of our members. So our operation plan is to start closing down the street, putting up the barricades around 4 o'clock. And we work down one side of the street, then the other. And then at 10 o'clock, the marshals go out and remove the barriers, and we make sure that all the restaurants and whoever's out on the street goes back into their stores. Other than that, we're not going to have any stages. We're not going to have any live entertainment. We're going to have some attractions for the children. We're going to have dance theater troops out there. We're going to have, obviously the restaurants are going to put out DJs and things like that. And one or two restaurants have bands that they put out. But for the most part, it's going to be run the way it's been run since I've taken over. This is my 3rd one. And so far, we've been pretty lucky, not having any issues.
Okay. So last year, this was also approved and there were some stipulations, right? Josephine, would you mind reading those or presenting? That'd be great as well. Those out for the committee.
Yes. Okay, so last year we had a motion to send a letter to the Department of Transportation in support of the Open Streets application submitted by the Third Avenue Merchants for the Third Avenue Summer Stroll. Again, event ID 772385 for the dates. I read them earlier. So the steps were that all SLA licensed premises who plan to serve alcoholic beverages and are not part of the open street, the open restaurant program will require an outdoor alteration permit added to their SLA license and are required to provide a 30-day advance notice to Community Board 10. That amplified sound permits will be issued at the discretion of the Third Avenue Summer Stroll organizers, and all applicants must adhere to the New York City Noise Code regulations and NYPD rules relating to sound permits. A list of locations will be provided to CB10 in advance of the event. All amplified sound permits issued by NYPD must end at 10 p.m. The Third Avenue Merchants is sponsored, will attend an interagency meeting organized by CB10 with the leadership of the agencies NYPD, DSNY, no less than 1 month prior to the first summer stroll event. And that organizers will ensure that all intersections open to vehicular traffic must be lined with protective barriers and visible signage for pedestrian safety.
I can get a copy of that.
And you will, yes, you will get a copy of this. So that's it. And so the Third Avenue Merchants agreed to it last year. We, appreciate you, working together.
Yeah, we're here to have, do good for the neighborhood and, it costs us a fortune to do it, so, but we're happy to do it. It's a lot of work, but, it's good for the neighborhood.
Okay. So that would be the motion and we just need a second and then a vote.
Cool. Thank you, Dan.
Doris makes the motion.
So Dora makes a motion. Just want to open up for any questions, just because I know I didn't ask about any questions here.
Just one question.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
I think Larry always asks this, but the Third Avenue bus, will it be rerouted and where?
Yes,
To Fourth Avenue.
Fourth Avenue is the reroute.
Okay, Fourth Avenue. Just checking. Thank you.
Yeah, they contact us every year. The New York City Transit contacts us as part of the whole process, and then we tell them what time when we're going to close down.
And just a comment, as someone who lives at the southern end, some years in the past, you did not go as far as Marine, and I think it's very nice that you're doing it, that you have been doing it, and it's good for those merchants and the neighbors.
Yeah, it's as I said, I don't want to. I mean, we have Kitty Cannon's down there. We have the Wicked Monk down there. We have Malone's, the new place down there. Plus, we have all these clothing stores, the Milk and Honey, Delia's, the Common. There's so many places down there that are great places, and to have it cut off would be a travesty.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Great. So we have a second on the floor. Motion to approve this as stated, which I'll present to the next committee board. All in favor? Okay. All right. That was basically unanimous there. Thank you.
Yes.
He's right here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll be voting on it on May 20th, and they'll get you the stipulation agreement.
I'll be at the meeting.
Okay, very good. Thank you,
Okay.
Dan.
Tk you, everybody.
Okay.
I hope you have
Nice
this
to meet
letter
you.
again.
Bye-bye. Next item, Jack.
Next item is the end of summer multi-block party from the Fifth Avenue bid. I believe you mentioned Elizabeth is on the line to talk about
Yes.
this.
Elizabeth Lovejoy, Executive Director of the Fifth Avenue bid. Liz, you want to give a brief presentation?
Sure, absolutely. So just to clarify, we are not doing open streets this year. We are just doing full street closure 2 times, one in September, one in October. We are changing the theme to September's. We're doing an end of summer multi-block party, so we'll be adding a lot more activities for kids and families. And we are keeping the Halloween festival, which has become very popular over the past couple of years.
Okay,
Just on a date and location. So I have on the application, this is September 14th from 2 to 9 p.m. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then also on October 26th between 3 and 9 p.m.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll make that correction then, Liz, I apologize. So that will be, so it's just a SAPO application then.
Yes, thank you.
Jack, I think Steve Harrison had a hand raised.
Oh, apologies if I didn't see that. Feel free to.
That was because I hit the wrong button.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. Would you mind just reading out
So I
the
posted
stipulation from last year?
it last year, which was, I just updated the motion that we've done in the past. that CB10 approves the Fifth Avenue SAPO application for two events, September 14th. And it is going to be called the End of Summer Multi-Block Party, Fifth Avenue between 68th Street and 81st Streets from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. Event ID 778676. And then the 1026 Halloween Fest, Fifth Avenue between 72nd Street and 85th Street from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Event ID 778-679. And that a list of all SLA licensed premises who plan to serve alcoholic beverages must be provided to Community Board 10. Amplified sound permits will be issued at the discretion of the Fifth Avenue bid organizers, and all applicants must adhere to the New York City Noise Code regulations and NYPD rules relating to sound permits. A list of locations must be provided to CB10 in advance of the event. Organizers will ensure that all intersections open to vehicular traffic must be lined with protective barriers and signage for pedestrian safety. All participants at the DOT weekend walk/fun on Fifth event must comply with the direction of marshals. The Fifth Avenue bid as sponsor will attend an interagency meeting organized by Community Board 10 with the leadership of NYPD, DSNY, SLA, SAPO, and DOT no less than 1 month before the first Summer Stroll event.
Thank you. All right, opening up for questions. Any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, do we have a second for the motion as stated to approve both the event IDs that were mentioned for the September 19th and October 26th events? Stephanie, thank you. Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. That is unanimous. Cool. A little delayed there, Chris, but still got it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Josephine.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Okay, moving right along.
Okay.
Leroy Branch, I see is here from DOT for the next agenda item. Leroy, is your team here? Oh, Leroy, you're on mute.
How's everyone doing this evening?
Well, Larry,
Good.
Nice to see you, Leroy.
Fantastic.
Always glad to come to CB10.
As long as you have your armor on.
Nah. Actually, I love coming to CB10. You got the best district manager in Brooklyn.
Thank you, Leroy.
we all know that.
I have with me tonight Elena and Alex from our bike unit.
School safety.
School safety. I'm sorry. From school safety team. That's right. I should have remembered that, especially Elena, because we've worked very closely together on a number of projects in CB10. And so we are here this evening to present a proposal regarding 7th Avenue and 86th Street, particularly because the school is coming in there. And we would love to get this project in before school starts. And we think it's going to be beneficial for the community as well. So without further ado, I'll ask Alex and he can begin his presentation.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name's Alex. I'm a project manager with DOT's school safety team. And I'm going to... All right. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So we are talking about 7th Avenue, primarily between 86th Street and Poly Place. And these are, school safety improvements. As Leroy mentioned, we've got a new school coming in. So, so IS 322 is going to be opening in the fall, right here at 7th Avenue and 86th Street with about 600 students. And, we've heard concerns from the community, from elected officials about, safety concerns with the new school coming in. And so, we've got several bus routes in the area. B8 and B70 run along 7th Avenue. And then along 86th Street, we've got the B1, the X28, the X38. And then 7th Avenue north of 92nd Street and 86th Street are local truck routes. We've got Poly Prep down here and 2 hospitals all right alongside the park, the golf course here. So, a lot going on, but this is kind of the extents outlined in red of where we're looking to make some improvements. Again, like focused primarily on 7th Avenue, but also some on Poly Place, 86th Street, 88th Street, and 90th Street. So starting out with some safety data, we've got within the project area, over the past 5 years, we have data for, there were 110 injuries, 2 severe injuries, and 1 fatality. 15% of these injuries were of pedestrians, and more than half of the pedestrians injured were crossing with a signal at the time they were injured, which is especially concerning to us as a school safety team, especially with new school coming in, lots of students going to be in the area. So we want to make sure that they're able to get to and from school safely. So here's kind of what we see in the area. 7th Avenue looks like this, as I'm sure you all know. 60-foot wide street with 1 lane in each direction, along with a standard bike lane and a parking lane on either side, and a big painted median in the middle. Again, it's got a couple bus routes. It ends up being, as a 60-foot wide street, it's a long pedestrian crossing distance for anybody trying to cross 7th Avenue. Local truck route north of 92nd Street, and it's a designated route for giant oversized trucks that come across the Verrazano, jog over on 92nd, and go up 7th Avenue. So there's a lot going on, and it's pretty wide street, big painted median, and that we've noticed tends to encourage speeding and other kinds of reckless driving, and so which is something that we would like to address with this project. So again, we've got some long pedestrian crossings. It takes a while for people to get across the street, especially if you're not moving super fast, if you got a stroller or something, and you can be kind of in the middle of the street when cars are trying to turn across the crosswalk. So you get some situations like this where you've got a little bit of a conflict at the crosswalk. We've got this slip lane here at Parrot Place and 88th Street, which kind of breaks up the pedestrian path along the west side of 7th Avenue. It also allows for some faster vehicle turns and creates additional conflict points, kind of creating 2 intersections here right next to each other. So, instead of being able to walk up and down the west side of 7th Avenue, you kind of have to jog over here where there's not any controls or crosswalks, and it can create a slightly hazardous situation, especially again with students, lots of students coming into this new school here. We also, have some concerns with the school bus route to IS-322. The current, 88th Street is one-way eastbound, and so if you've got school buses trying to come up to the loading zone on Battery Avenue, they have to go all the way down either 7th Avenue or Parrot Place to 90th Street and then loop back up to make it up here to the loading zone along the school frontage there. And so, it's not super direct path for the school buses to get there. We also see, especially down at the intersection of 7th Avenue and Poly Place, right by the entrance to Fort Hamilton Army Base, definitely some concerns of reckless driving. We see evidence of donuts happening, just kind of a big, wide intersection kind of lends itself to that, which is, definitely not what we want to see. And then we've got another slip lane here at that same intersection that allows for really fast turns. I witnessed several people kind of blowing through this stop sign right here through the crosswalk. You've got this long unprotected crossing for if you're trying to cross the street here, and this painted kind of island space right here that kind of diverts the traffic in 2 directions is susceptible to illegal parking. And again, it's not really an actual refuge space for pedestrians trying to cross the street here. We also have 86th Street with high volumes of vehicles coming from the Gowanus Expressway, 3 bus routes, local truck route, and again, some long pedestrian crossings here, which can get a little dicey. We also noticed several of the bus stops in the area aren't super accessible. They're kind of right in the middle of the planting strip in front of the ribbon sidewalk. So they're not super accessible for people using wheelchairs. And if it rains, it can get super muddy. So not a super pleasant landing area for bus riders. Kind of alongside that, the sidewalk can be a little narrow, especially, kind of smashed between the trees and the planting strip, and then the fence alongside the park. The sidewalk's only 5 feet wide, and so we've seen lots of joggers end up running in the street, which is not an ideal scenario. We also noticed a lot of speeding. We were out there recently with a radar speed detector, and over the course of a couple hours, every single vehicle we saw was speeding. The average speed along 7th Avenue around between 92nd and 90th Street the average speed was 43 miles an hour. And the 85th percentile speed is 50 miles an hour, which is obviously much higher than the posted 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. So that was especially concerning for us, kind of right between the existing school, Poly Prep, and the new school that's coming up. And so that's definitely a major red flag for us, especially. We also know that there have been longstanding community complaints about big trucks illegally parked for extended periods of time alongside the park around here. And that's not a pleasant experience for the neighborhood. And we've definitely heard some complaints about that. So here is what we are planning to do. Our main piece of this would be to kind of narrow up 7th Avenue, basically get rid of the painted median, kind of tighten things up a little bit so people don't feel as emboldened to speed and drive recklessly, and replace the 2 standard bike lanes with a 2-way protected bike lane on the east side of the street alongside the park, and then additionally have a 5-foot painted sidewalk extension. So you've got a little extra space for people to walk. You get the bikes out of the conflict area with vehicles.
Okay.
You tighten things up so that the vehicles are kind of forced to go a little more slowly, and it kind of clarifies everything a little more, so you don't have as much kind of weaving across as you do now. So this is an example of a similar project that DOT's school safety team did in Queens on Oceania Street, very similar to what is proposed here. It was again right in front of a school and a park, narrowed up the roadway, installed a 2-way protected bike lane with floating parking. It was a very successful treatment for this kind of condition, so we're confident that it would be a good fit for this spot. And again, this would be on 7th Avenue, south of 86th Street, and then kind of looping down onto Poly Place towards the VA hospital. So again, upgrading the standard bike lanes here, narrowing the roadway to reduce speeding and kind of calm traffic, and then also make pedestrian crossing distances shorter, especially with the schools and the bus stops in the area. When we do projects like this that include protected bike lanes, we've seen that not only does safety improve for cyclists, but it improves for everybody using the street, motor vehicle occupants and pedestrians as well. Seem to be safer too. So this is a great kind of win-win scenario where we kind of tighten things up and dedicate space to cyclists in a protected manner. It ends up making everybody safer. So we think this is a great fit for this location. So again, going back, this is kind of that mid-block cross section that'd be shown in these spots. Again, you still got the 2 parking lanes with 2 travel lanes, but they're just kind of squished together a little bit more. And then the bikes and the sidewalk extension go along the eastern curb alongside the park. So we also plan to maintain some left turn bays where they're needed to reduce backups and clarify traffic movements where we have lots of left turns happening. We're still able to maintain the protected bike lane in those areas. It's just slightly narrower. Again, it helps provide safe, dedicated space for cyclists and reduces conflicts with turning vehicles. So it'll look something like this. We're planning to maintain left turn bays going north on 7th Avenue at 86th Street and at 92nd Street, and then both of the existing left turn bays into the VA hospital along Poly Place. So it'll look something like this, where you've got the southbound travel lane, and then the left turn bay travel lane, and then again the floating parking lane, and then the two-way bike lane. At some of the bus stops, in order to provide some more accessible space for bus riders and remove conflicts between buses and bikes, we're planning to install bus boarding islands. So basically, the bus will pull over and stop at kind of a floating island instead of all the way over to the curb. So the bus doesn't have to swing out as much. It provides a nice, safe spot for bus riders to wait for the bus, and it maintains that protected bike lane for the cyclists. So it would look very similar to this project our team installed on Amsterdam Avenue in Upper Manhattan. Here's the bus boarding island right next to the curbside two-way bike lane, and it allows the buses to board right here and have the buses not have to pull over kind of into the path of the bikes, so it reduces that conflict. So this is kind of what it would look like right here in front of Poly Prep at the existing bus stop. You've still got both lanes of traffic, and then the bus pulls over and people can wait here on this big concrete island. I did want to note that so there's kind of 3 bus stops on this side of the road currently, kind of within our project limits, but the middle one here down kind of just north of the intersection of 7th Avenue and Poly Place is currently slated to be removed as part of the MTA's big Brooklyn bus network redesign. So we are not planning to install a new island there, just because if the bus stop is going away, then we don't want to put in a big island that isn't going to be necessary. So the current plan is to maintain the bus stop right at Poly Prep at that mid-block crossing, and then also the one right across from the VA hospital. So we'll be building those 2 bus boarding islands, again creating a safe space for the riders to wait and improve the accessibility and help with bus operations as well. We would also love to close this slip lane at Parrot Place, kind of right at 7th Avenue, 88th Street, Parrot Place, help provide a more direct and safe pedestrian path along the west side of 7th Avenue, reduce the number of conflicts. And we would plan, I know there's 3 driveways here that would be maintained, but otherwise it would be just expanded pedestrian space, and again allow for a safe and direct path for people and especially new students walking along here. So the plan would be, as part of that, to swap the directions of 88th Street and 90th Street to help maintain access to Parrot Place, so that vehicles could just jog over onto 88th Street and then get to Parrot Place easily. So basically 88th Street, instead of going eastbound for those couple blocks, would go westbound, and then just same thing with 90th Street, it would swap to eastbound. So it would, maintain good circulation through the neighborhood, but it would allow us to close the slip lane and provide better access for everybody. We would also plan to expand the existing concrete island to help make sure it's accessible for pedestrians. And again, just provide a more direct and safe path for everybody. This would also help with making the route for school buses a lot shorter and more direct, so they don't have to drive through the residential area as much. The buses would be able to turn onto 88th Street and then loop back up right on Battery Avenue to get right to the school. So they wouldn't be kind of swinging through all of these other intersections in the area. Again, we would plan to maintain driveway access similar to this plaza at called Banker's Anchor that was recently installed around North 15th Street in Brooklyn. Again, there would be, nice pedestrian space, but the people who, need to get to their driveways would still be able to. We also plan to close the slip lane at that big intersection of 7th Avenue and Poly Place, and route all the right turns around the edge of the island here, help kind of normalize the intersection, slow down those right turns, kind of make everything feel a little tighter, less susceptible to reckless driving, all these donuts that are happening. So to do that, we would build out the island in concrete, and route the bike lane along the existing curb kind of behind it. So this would drastically shorten the crossing distance for pedestrians, and just tighten things up a lot, make sure that people aren't just kind of speeding through there. Would definitely give things a little tighter feel, make it safer for everybody. And then again, just down here on Poly Place, right across from the hospital, planning to install this bus boarding island at the existing bus stop. Again, the left turn bays into the hospital would be maintained, so we'll have the buses just pull up right here and load and unload on this new concrete island, and then the bikes would go along behind that in between the island and the existing curb. At the intersection of 86th Street and 7th Avenue, where the new school is going in, our proposal is to ban the left turn from eastbound 86th Street to northbound 7th Avenue to reduce some of the vehicle conflicts that we see here. And it allows us to do some signal timing changes. We would be able to extend the leading pedestrian interval that gives pedestrians a head start when they're crossing 86th Street. So they get a little more of a head start while they're crossing before vehicles are allowed to turn across the crosswalk. We would also be adding a new LPI across 7th Avenue so that people crossing 7th would also have that head start. And just also wanted to mention that the school is going to be building out a concrete curb extension at this corner, which will help tighten up the turns, slow those down, shorten the crossing distances a little bit. And then we would be installing a bike box here at that corner as well, so that cyclists coming southbound on 7th Avenue would be able to cross through the intersection on the green and then wait here in a safe spot for the light to change so that they could jog over to the new two-way protected path. And then further along 86th Street, we plan to do a few more signal timing adjustments, either add or extend those leading pedestrian intervals at each of these intersections from Fort Hamilton Parkway to 10th Avenue. Again, proposing to ban the left turn at 7th Avenue, but add a dedicated right turn lane for westbound traffic going onto Dahlgren Place. And then adding a new protected left signal phase at 10th Avenue to kind of counteract the turn ban at 7th Avenue. So the as with anything where we are kind of reallocating street space, there would be an impact to the number of parking spaces in the area. So we would be losing a couple spaces here for added visibility, what's known as daylighting, where you kind of take away a couple parking spaces at the intersection to make it so that people can see, or that trucks can turn without kind of clipping parked cars. Some more at the closed slip lane, and then kind of along the corridor here and there, 2 to 4 spots, and then several more down to close the slip lane at 7th Avenue and Poly Place, although we would be getting a few back with the removal of the bus stop there. But overall, it'd be a loss of 28 parking spaces along the entirety of the corridor. So to kind of recap, We want to narrow the roadway along 7th Avenue, reduce speeding and reckless driving, upgrade these standard bike lanes to a parking protected two-way path, improving safety for cyclists and other road users, change the directions of 88th and 90th Street to improve traffic flow near the new school and accommodate the safety improvements like closing that slip lane at Parrot Place. Also close the slip lane at 7th Avenue and Poly Place. Both those would really help add some pedestrian space and reduce crossing distances, and then install those 2 bus boarding islands to improve bus loading, and then improve the signal timing along 86th Street and add new LPIs or extend the existing ones. And then, I mentioned earlier the illegal truck parking that happens along the park. Our view is that sometimes when the street gets upgraded infrastructure, it can tend to be less desirable for these kind of long-term truck parking. It becomes more inviting for people to walk along it or bike along it. And so that kind of makes it less of a, abandoned feel, which is where the trucks, more often tend to park. But we will talk to the 68th precinct to ask for additional enforcement. But if that is not enough, the way we could totally eliminate the truck parking would be to totally eliminate all of the parking along the park there. So if requested, we would look into totally removing all of the parking along that side of the street and do a barrier protected bike lane. We know that would be a major impact, so we did not come out with that, but just know that is an option we can explore if that is like the most important issue. We also have 2 pending studies for new traffic controls that we hope to install. One at 7th Avenue and 88th Street. We would love to have a new signal and crossing there. So our team that does these traffic control studies will be looking at this, especially in light of the new school with the additional pedestrians and the loading that's going on in the area and the reversals of the one-way streets here. And then another one down here, kind of at the very south end of the park. We would like to install a mid-block crossing here, kind of right where this concrete median starts. That would give pedestrians and cyclists better access between the park and the ball fields. And it would also allow us to expand these protected bike lanes a little bit further down to this other park entrance. And it would allow cyclists better access to cross over and get kind of through this park down to a place to access the Shore Parkway Greenway, which would be nice too. All right, so that is all I have. I see, Steve, you have your hand raised.
Yes, I do. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. About the one-way streets that you're going to reverse.
Yes.
Have you gotten any feedback from the residents? Because my experience has been that although it doesn't seem like a big deal to some people, it is. And I just want to know if what type of outreach you've had to them to get their comments.
We have not. This is our first round of outreach right now, so we have not gotten any feedback from the residents on those streets yet.
Did you intend to? Do you intend to?
Steve, if I can, Alex, I'm actually in conversation right now with Josephine in trying to set something up. So
okay,
we're going to do something in terms of getting the information to the individuals who live on that block, on those 2 streets.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think that's important, but I did also want to comment that I'm very encouraged by the whole thing. I think it's a nice plan from what I can see there. And I think that the one thing that you're talking about is creating about 28 new parking spaces, if I'm not wrong.
No, removing.
No, removing.
Yeah,
No.
it would be removing.
Okay, excuse me, removing the parking spaces. Does that make more room for illegal truck parking? Or How do we handle that?
No, so that would be primarily like spots that would not be available for parking anymore. The expanded, the new concrete island down at Poly Place. Yeah, no, our goal is not to create
Yeah.
new areas for
Just wanna
trucks
make
to
sure.
park illegally.
As a general rule,
Yes.
I think it's a nice plan. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's turn it over to Jack. Jack, you can.
Thank you,
proceed.
Leroy.
Mhm.
All right, I see Doris has her hand raised. Doris?
Yes, okay. Could you define slip lane? That's my first
yes.
question.
Yeah, yes. So basically, where we have kind of these irregular intersections that it's not like two streets meeting at a right angle, sometimes you have this slip lane condition where let me go to this slide. Basically, so yeah, so you see right here, instead of routing the turns kind of to the middle of the intersection like a normal kind of right angle would be, it kind of lets them cut the corner a little bit. So like the vehicles turning right from Poly Place onto 7th Avenue, they don't have to make that full right angle turn and slow all the way down. They go through this slip lane, which lets them cut the corner a little bit.
I would like to
that-
see your description of that at Parrot Place.
Okay. Yes, so it's a slightly different configuration, but again, it basically allows a really wide and fast turn instead of kind of having the vehicles make that right angle turn, which really slows them down. And again, at Parrot Place, it also kind of creates this like double intersection in the space of kind of one. So it kind of it introduces these additional like basically like two potential conflict points here instead of one kind of one spot that we would normally see at a regular intersection, if that makes sense.
So could you, because I use that area. So you could
Mhm.
explain to me, I'm turning off 86th Street. How do I get to 92nd Street?
So under our proposal, you would be able to, again, with 88th Street going the other way, you would make more of a right angle turn to get onto 88th and then could go down Fairfax
Wait,
Road.
wait,
So,
I'm coming from 86th Street. I make a left
okay.
on 86th Street. Where the hell do I go?
to get to where?
Get to 92nd Street.
To get to 92nd Street from
From
86th Street?
Street to 92nd Street. How do I get there?
You would just go down 7th Avenue.
So I can no longer use Parrot Place.
You could either go all the way down 7th Avenue, or you could just make this right turn and then left turn, like the
Thank
blue
you.
arrow shows,
Okay.
to get down to 92nd. Yes.
Thank you. And
You have
then
a
I would
second
like
question?
to give some background. When the board approved this location for a school, there was tremendous, tremendous opposition to it because of the traffic problems involved. And the community board needs to have a public hearing to let the neighborhood residents know what is going on. So we need time to address these issues.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, Leroy.
Yes, that's fine, Doris. Like I told you, we'll be speaking to Josephine in terms of setting something up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Noah, Jack, if it's okay, that, it's been the board's policy to hold a public meeting when directional changes are made, and this is a large project, so we do look forward to setting that up with DOT. I had a question. I'm curious about the sidewalk extension. So as everyone knows, the area around the golf course is used by many people to exercise. So is that gonna be a painted sidewalk extension? Is that gonna be filled in with curb? I'm interested in hearing about that. Little-
Yes, it would be painted at this point.
Okay,
Just as an addendum to that, is it also gonna be a painted barrier between the parking spot and the bike lane?
Yes, so it would be kind of similar to the photo here. Or I guess it's hard to see the buffer there, but similar to like this one right here, where you've got the the bike lane and then this kind of channelized buffer space and then the floating parking lane. But again, with our proposal in these mid-block sections, it would also include the painted sidewalk extension between the bike lane and the curb.
In that case, I would probably still be worried about trucks attempting to use that space, the bike lane, as well as the 2 buffer lanes around it for parking, even if it's obviously illegal, which is what they're doing already. Okay, Stephanie, you've had your hand up for some time, please.
Yes, I 2 areas of concern, please. The first is 92nd Street and 7th Avenue. So when I'm driving or when I'm walking, which is worse, the cars that are coming along 92nd Street, heading towards the T intersection of 7th Avenue, many of them are trying to make that right-hand turn. There are times of day when it's just bumper to bumper. And I don't know if this is a road design issue or a traffic signal issue, but that light at that intersection for those waiting on 92nd Street is particularly short compared to the flow of traffic that's permitted along 7th Avenue. So as a result, a lot of those cars run the red light. And they just throw themselves out into the intersection, blocking the crosswalk, making it really hazardous for pedestrians. Do you think this plan will address that?
So we did do a traffic model of this whole network here, and I don't unfortunately remember off the top of my head what exact what the exact changes we're proposing to the signal timing here, but we did make sure that we kind of modified the timing to allow adequate room for kind of what the vehicle traffic is shown. So we do plan to make sure there's adequate time for people to come off of 92nd Street. Again, I don't remember off the top of my head exactly what that looks like, what the timing works out to, but we definitely are trying to make sure that we have, we clear out that queue there, and then, but again, well, I mean, that is definitely something that we can continue to look at as we, as time goes on. If there are continued issues at this intersection, we can definitely look at the signal timing and see if it needs any further adjustments. That's definitely something we can continue to do, but we do not expect this to exacerbate any existing issues there.
Okay, well, that would be bad because it's pretty bad as it is. The other issue too is that we see from their picture, there's traffic that there's a right-hand turning lane and a left-hand turning lane, and very often cars will race down that left-hand turning lane and turn right. So it's just a free-for-all over there. But thank you for your explanation. The second area of concern is, can we go to the entrance of the Army garrison of the Fort Hamilton Army Base, please?
Yes.
Okay. This is your modification. So
yes.
All right. So and I notice also this is an issue on both sides. So, and if you're approaching the Army Base from 7th Avenue and you're trying to enter, like I said, between the schools and actually access to the Belt Parkway, there's often bumper to bumper traffic. And one of the things that exists now is that it's possible for a car to move to the right and bypass all that traffic trying to turn from 7th Avenue onto Poly Place. This looks like traffic heading into Fort Hamilton would not be able to bypass the traffic waiting to turn left. Similarly, coming from Poly Place trying to turn left into Fort Hamilton, now you've narrowed that ability as well. That might make for safer conditions, but it just causes additional clotting, if you will. But more concern, what I'm more concerned about is the entrance to Fort Hamilton coming from Poly Place, making that left-hand turn. There's no stop sign. But the cars,
Right.
right? So the cars coming from 7th Avenue, they have a stop sign, which they think is optional very often. So they run through the stop sign. Those turning left into Fort Hamilton have no stop sign, and it's just, I don't have to explain what is the potential
Yeah.
disaster there. Are you doing anything to address that?
The plan would be to have this treated as a typical always stop intersection, so that the vehicles coming westbound on Poly Place would have a stop, and then as well as the vehicles on 7th Avenue. So it would function much more as a regular intersection, again, without the kind of cutting corner bypass of the slip lane,
Okay.
and with more clear, like, everyone needs to stop.
So
Yes.
if everyone needs to stop, that's why you're funneling traffic into one lane without allowing any
Mhm.
bypassing. It will, I mean, I anticipate there are going to be issues with that as well, because sometimes the fort opens its Poly Place gate and you've got traffic turning right, and it's there's just a lot of traffic there. But okay, thank you very much for the explanation.
Thank you.
I guess, has there been coordination with the fort itself about this change?
It's a good question.
Excellent question.
We were coming to community board first, and then we're going to notify the school. We're going to notify the fort and Maimonides Hospital, as well as the VA hospital as well. So we wanted to come to actually second, because we went to the electeds first, and we're coming to the community board second, and then we're going to go to everyone else, all the other stakeholders along the corridor.
I just had a quick, so the school's opening this year, is that right? I apologize, I wasn't there.
Correct.
So in this plan, when is it gonna take place? Even if if approvals happens immediately, like what happens? What is the typical timeline for a project like this?
Yeah, our goal would be to install all of this over the summer and be done before school opens up in the fall. Because this would all be done with our in-house crews. It's mostly paint, just mostly paint on the road, some concrete. So this could be done on a relatively short time frame.
Okay. All right, Doris, you've had your
Yes. Yes, I do have my hand up again. You kind of said, there's a problem with truck parking on 7th Avenue and Poly Place, but you don't really have a way to address it. In addition, sometimes the pedestrian paths on Poly Place and 7th Avenue are in such disrepair that walkers and joggers have to go into the street to continue on. Do you have any plan to coordinate with other agencies and existing institutions to deal with the disrepair and the negligence in that area?
Well, we would. I'm
sorry,
sorry, Alex. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, if there are any particular locations where there's
the entire area.
Yeah, well,
Poly Place.
Doris, what I would do is I will contact the Department of Parks and let them know your concerns about the disrepair of the pathways along the golf course.
Thank you.
Sorry, that's the responsibility of parks, that
Yes,
sidewalk?
all sidewalks are the responsibility of the property owner, and since that's the Parks Department's property, the golf course, they're responsible for the sidewalks. Not to say that they can't commission DOT to fix them, but it would have to come out of their budget. But it's up to them to make that determination, not DOT.
But it does create a very dangerous situation.
I agree with you 100%, Doris, no doubt. But I will reach out to them.
Right, this has been raised at many of our hearings on capital and expense, and it is a capital priority of CB10. So I just wanted to add that we have also contacted parks, and it is a priority, especially for the sidewalks around the perimeter that are used very extensively for
Yes.
residents who exercise. It's a perfect 2 mile trek around the golf course.
We have a question from the public. Josephine, how do we allow them to speak?
Give me one moment. Tammy, you should be able to unmute.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, so actually I am the Vice President of Nursing for Maimonides Bay Ridge ED over on 92nd and 7th Avenue. Thank you for allowing me to join this meeting. My question actually slightly came up already, but I have another caveat to this. On that corner of 92nd and 7th, if you can scroll back to that, you had talked about walking lead times for pedestrians. And I know that you had mentioned this on one side of the street, but that same street that that we were talking about, the right turn going very, very fast. So across from Poly to the Maimonides entrance, is there any discussions on increasing the walking lead times there as well? As you know, we've been open since the end of July. We have had 2 accidents already that we've cared for. On the day we opened on July 25th, we had a motorcycle versus bus because of that. And just last week, we had a very serious injury with a bicyclist. And our staff has come across that as you try to cross the street, you have people trying to cut the left turn, trying to cut the right turn. And so if you can potentially increase the walking lead times to allow more walking time for those pedestrians, that actually goes across 92nd Street instead of just, I understand that you're going to shorten the 7th Avenue, but we still have that 92nd very, very long and not a lot of walking time. So that is just a potential, if it's possible, to also increase that walking time.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, again, I don't remember exactly what the timing changes look like at this one, but I will definitely make a note of that and see if we are able to extend that one as well. And we'll let y'all know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, Jack, I don't see any other members of the public. If I can ask one more question. On the left turn prohibition on 86th Street, making that left turn to 7th Avenue. I mean, so I have a few concerns about that. One, first of all, one being compliance. Also the added amount of volume that would now be made on 86th Street at 10th Avenue, which is also very residential. Because many people who make that left to 7th Avenue look to join to Fort Hamilton Parkway. So if I was, so motorists who are heading that way would then, I would imagine, travel down 10th Avenue and make the first left would be 84th Street back onto 7th Avenue if they were to go around the block. So I was wondering if your study went beyond that, and if you considered perhaps, in some places near some schools, we've had time periods where the left turn ban was in place. Is this going to be a 24, hour left turn ban? And did you consider a left turn signalization there?
So we did also hear when we briefed the area's elected officials yesterday, we did hear some concerns from them about this left turn ban. When we did our traffic model, the number of vehicles making that left turn was not super high. So in our modeling, it didn't appear to make any major impacts on 10th Avenue there, but we can definitely take a closer look at this one since you have brought it up and the elected officials. And as far as the like a dedicated left turn phase was not going to fit within the timing here, just because with it being the intersection of 86th Street and 7th Avenue, just the way we weren't able to figure out a way to make that fit in with the timing plan without kind of further impacts kind of escalating back to some of the other intersections. So this was kind of our way of trying to compromise that while allowing some of the time to go to the LPIs at the intersection, and then give that left turn opportunity at 10th Avenue. But this is definitely something that we can revisit and take a closer look at.
Thank you.
See if
Thank
we
you.
need to modify the plan.
Okay, yeah, Jack, Larry Stelter has his hand raised.
Just looking at the geometry of this, you got a left-hand burn, that short block, 7th Avenue to 10th Avenue is a very short block, and then you're gonna have a back I heard of a turning lane to go left on 10th Avenue. You might have cars just backing up, making the left turn and crossing onto 7th Avenue.
Right.
Sorry, what is the question?
Your left turn, 10th Avenue, that special ramp you're gonna have on 86th Street is gonna really get the potential for backing up such a short block. It's less than 200 feet long. Then, of course, again, you're gonna have amazed at how much the westbound traffic in 86th Street is. If you have traffic, that's potential for
So
trap in the intersections, and the traffic backing up the left-hand turn, backing up onto 86th Street going eastbound.
So we did, as part of our traffic analysis, we do, we take the traffic counts and we model kind of, what everything looks like under the current conditions, and then we model it with our proposed changes. And we made sure that that the model didn't show any queues spilling back into adjacent intersections. And with the new the protected left turn phase at 10th Avenue, it showed us being able to process all of those left turns without queues kind of backing up to 7th Avenue. But again, we understand that this particular treatment is cause for a lot of concerns from you and from the elected officials. So we will definitely take a closer look at this one and get back to you.
Thank you.
Question?
Jack, we have a hand raised by Carmen Feliciano.
Carmen.
Can you just go back to the slide or what you said about eliminating, what was it, 27 parking spots?
28, yes.
Because the first thing that comes to mind, you have the staff of the new school driving in, there's another school, a Greek school, you have a hospital, you have an assisted living facility, all that have staff, and I know the trucks have been taking up a lot of the spots, but eliminating those spots means that those trucks are just gonna go to another part of the neighborhood, but make it a lot harder for all these people coming in, trying to find a spot now. That just seems like a really high number.
How many spots are there in this space?
Total number of parking spaces in the area.
Yeah.
We did not count the total number of spaces within this area to do like a percentage, but I can take a look at that and get back to you with like what this looks like as a percentage of parking spaces in the area.
You can see on the map that all the spaces that all the spaces that we're removing are highlighted in blue, and all the spaces that are remaining are still in color red. So that is the vast majority of the parking spots.
Wow.
Yeah, so I can't tell you with certainty what the percentage is, but it is a very low percentage of the total amount of parking available in the area. But if they're, there's most of these locations have just, a handful being removed. I know there's, the majority is happening down here at where we're proposing to close that slip lane, but
I suppose just back to Carmen's question, right? Two things. One is on trucks and one is on the workers and other people who need to commute here. When you do discuss with the other stakeholders here, obviously that is like a very big and prominent question to ask is, does removing these spots affect the people who actively work there? And second is, where do the trucks go? Like if instead of here, where would the trucks go?
Probably to the other side of the park.
There's no way for us to answer that. There's no
Yeah.
right now. There's no truck parking in New York City. I mean, we do have it at the airport, but technically, no truck is supposed to park anywhere in New York City. So where would they go? They're gonna find a quiet spot anywhere they can go to and park their trucks. You know that, and I know that. I'm not gonna be sit here and tell you that it's gonna get rid of them altogether. They're gonna find another location in their district to park their car, maybe on the other side of Dyker Beach Park, you know? So we can't really answer that question. The goal here was to help this particular location, since it has been a problem throughout the years. And it was one of the main reasons why Justin Brannon, who was the council person before, was asking us to do something. We did everything that we could possibly do besides putting in the protected bike lane to help to prevent the trucks from overnight parking. Some of them do it and they don't care. It's just the cost of doing business. Give me the fine, you know? So,
yeah.
I mean, hopefully this will help in terms of getting them not to park here. But hey, a truck can come and stop in the middle of the street and park. Listen, we don't know what people do these days, you know. We're just trying to be as helpful as we can in trying to deter them from parking here.
Okay, Stephanie.
Thank you. In our earlier discussions with the School Construction Authority, and many of them, the indication was that for middle school, there are less school buses and less parents dropping off students. Most students take public transportation, but I don't entirely believe that. I think parents will try to drop off their students. What accommodations will be made for them, if any? Like what street would it be on? And in your studies of the area, are you able to anticipate how much more traffic will descend on 86th Street in the mornings and in the afternoons?
So I believe, and Elena, I think you are slightly more familiar with the location of the school itself than I am, but I believe the plan is for the loading to occur on Battery Avenue. And you know, we don't really want the loading happening on 86th Street because that's just a recipe for some chaos. So the frontage along Battery Avenue would be, I believe, what would be signed for school loading. So, you know, the curb should be clear to allow for. Sorry, go ahead, Lena.
Our standard policy is to assign have all of the frontages of the school assigned to school loading that allows to accommodate school bus loading, emergency vehicle access, and parental pickup and drop off. These are standard regulations: no standing school days, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., and DOT standard policies to install them along the entirety of school frontages in New York City.
And the school frontages include which here, if you could be specific, where would that be?
Battery Avenue, 86th Street, and 7th Avenue.
So 86th Street would potentially face additional traffic and congestion and confusion with that policy.
Not because
I think regardless of that,
I think regardless of our policy, you will see parents picking up and dropping off children at all frontages.
Agreed.
Our policy is meant to free up the curb space to accommodate that and to lessen the double parking.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Doris.
Leroy,
Yes.
you know, we're discussing illegal truck parking. And DOT has a responsibility for enforcement for illegal parking. And you're saying
No, DOT does not have the
But
responsibility
you
for
don't have any
enforcement.
plan, you have no plan to deal with it.
Well, we've tried to deal with it over the course of time by putting up. First, they wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. Then we changed the signage, and then we changed the signage again to prevent them from doing it, but they did it anyway. So I don't, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So basically you're saying they're doing it, they're gonna move it and live with it.
They're going.
We don't want to live with it.
I understand that. But it's a total enforcement issue, and what we've
What
done
are you doing
everything.
to coordinate with with NYPD
The,
to resolve this?
the most we can do is talk to them and try to get them to step up enforcement along 7th Avenue, which they do at times. They do go out, they do enforce. I do know that they have told a couple of the trucks, but they can't do it every day, every night, 24 hours a day. So the best thing we can do is implement signage, put in a bike lane, and hope that helps in deterring them from being there in the first place. But we do not do any enforcement whatsoever.
Yeah, I think this would be it's a good step in the right direction, right? This kind of deterrence, this kind of additional friction will be very much so positive. Obviously, for these trucks, the cost of doing business for these fines are not significant for them. So hopefully it'll be positive. There's a hand raised in the room. Let's see.
Oh, Steve.
Steve?
Yeah. You got me?
Yes, got you.
No, I'm just wondering, I know that this might be counterintuitive, but did you ever think about locking the wheels? If that happens a few times, they'll think twice.
So,
I mean, they
You
do
mean
it to cars. You do it to
You mean
cars.
booting the truck? You talking about booting?
Yeah.
Again, that's not us. That's the NYPD and the sheriff's department.
You know, Leroy, I absolutely understand what you're saying. And I understand that you can't give the tickets and you can't put the boots on, but you can talk to them.
We have, and we will continue to. But that's the best we can do.
What is the answer with respect to booting?
they have boots. Steve,
They have booted. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. They have booted, they have towed, they have ticketed, they've done everything, but the trucks want to stay there. And from their perspective, it's the cost of doing business. Because say, for instance, I'll give you a perfect instance. If I get my truck booted, all I have to do is go down and pay the fine, and boot comes right off. So if the boot was $250, I take it off for $250, and then I'll park there the night after and the night after. How often am I going to get a boot? Probably maybe once a month, once every couple of months.
That's the problem. But that's the problem.
I understand that, but they're not going to be here 24 hours a day booting every truck that parks there. If you and I can't speak for the NYPD, but if you think about all the number of trucks that are parked in the city, throughout the city, there's not enough manpower to boot 24 hours a day.
Booting trucks would also allow the truck to effectively take up parking spots until
they will stay there, right?
Well.
Right.
So it just
Once they're booted, they stay.
I'm thinking more along the lines of a short term, like blitz, so that they recognize this could happen to them anytime. I'm just
what I'm saying to you, Steve. I agree with you.
Listen to me,
I agree with
Leroy.
you.
No, let me finish. Okay. What I'm saying to you is that it seems to me that there has to be some kind of a plan here. I'm not hearing a plan. I'm hearing an occasional thing that's done on, like on a haphazard basis. And I'm saying you have to sit down and figure this out with them because there's something wrong.
I understand, and maybe I'm not being clear about it. We have sat down with the precinct. We have gone out and, like you said, did a blitz, and they've issued hundreds of tickets. They've booted, I won't say hundreds of trucks, but I know they have gone out and booted, and they do it on a regular basis. They're not doing it every day. I won't say that. And I'm not even going to say they're doing it every week. But I do think they do go out and do it on a regular basis. When I say regular, it may be monthly, but they do go out and do it. And trucks still park there.
Okay, thank you, Lori. Any other questions? Don't see any other hands raised. Great. I guess what is the next step then for this project? It will be discussing this with Maimonides for Hamilton.
It'll be reaching
the
out
area
to
residents.
Maimonides, yes, all the area stakeholders, Maimonides, the hospital, the veterans, the base. And then I think what we're going to possibly do is have a hearing. I think that's how y'all call it, with
A meeting. Yeah,
a public hearing with the residents on 88th and 90th to discuss that one-way reversal.
Correct.
Cool.
And Parrot Place. I don't want to forget Parrot Place, closing that slip lane.
Yeah, so the neighbors there, Leroy, did attend the school siting meeting, and so back Parrot, 7th, 90th, and 88th Street. We'd like to invite them to a presentation.
Sure.
Get some feedback and and show them the plan.
Presumably that'll be a TNT meeting, or it will be like specific to this.
That would be right, TNT, and we would work with DOT, and we could set up a place right near try to go on site nearby. We could talk about that because we don't have much time, so it'd have to be done with, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks, early June.
Great. Awesome.
Early June.
Early June, yeah.
Early June, like the first week.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Elena, and thank you, Lori, for the presentation. Step in the right direction from my perspective. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And I look forward to continuing this conversation, Joe.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
All right. Good night.
Could we have a copy
Have a
of
good night.
the plan?
No. No.
Okay.
We don't have enough paper.
We will definitely be posting the presentation I just gave on our website, but I can make sure Leroy
Send it to me, Alex.
sends it to you as well.
Thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. I'll have a great night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Great. So Josephine, we have 2 more agenda items, but they're fairly interlocked. How do you want to go about this?
Yes, so we have 2 items on the agenda relating to New York City DOT's dining out program. So this has really come about very quickly. DOT has rolled out their application process, and the committee has been really now will be tasked with reviewing applications on New York City's dining out program. And we did draft a application for applicants. During the pandemic, there were about 200 applications that were issued in Community Board 10, both roadside and sidewalk cafes. Prior to the pandemic, we had about a dozen or so sidewalk cafes in the district, and right now DOT has opened up their portal through August 3rd to begin accepting applications. I just want to share my screen really quickly to go through really quickly. The roadway cafes would be open April 1st to November 29th, and the sidewalk cafes would now be permitted year-round. And the external review and community board referral does have a set time period upon our notification. This is just a slide, and we saw this in the past meeting of some of the examples of what the sidewalk cafes and roadside cafes could look like. But community boards are going to be able to comment on applications on an online portal. And so the district office will be granted access to the application portal to review applications. It's very similar to what we do now for block party applications in the district office. And there is a set determined amount of time for our review, and it's a very small window. It's, I believe, 30 days for roadside applications and 40 days for sidewalk cafes. There's a fee schedule for applicants that I just have here on a slide. Let's see, I'm just looking at it. The temporary program transition. So participants that do not apply by August 3rd will need to remove their current outdoor dining setups. Restaurants will need to bring their setup into compliance within 30 days after their application is approved. So in the review process, which is right here in number 2, our community board review, the community board may hold a public hearing to provide a recommendation to DOT up to 40 days. DOT may be required to hold a public hearing. DOT approves or approves with modifications. And then it goes to the city council. This is for sidewalk dining applications. And roadside is a little bit different in that roadside applications has a 30-day review period. And DOT would then hold a public hearing. DOT approves or approves with modification or denies the application, and then notifies the applicant. So some of the review considerations are siting requirements, clearances, material requirements, conflicts with upcoming road work. So DOT, when they receive an application from a restaurant for either a sidewalk or a roadside, they will review these specifications and requirements. They also look at, bus stops, where mailboxes are, micro-mobility stations, subway entrances. They have really clear guidelines, which we don't really have time to go through, here tonight. So what we had discussed as a committee was putting together an application so we can begin to create our own process and how we're going to handle applications as they come in. We did receive our first application already from a cafe who was on this call, so we added it to our agenda. In speaking to Jack, because we didn't have our process in place yet, we would invite the owner of Cafe, since fortunately, pre-pandemic, Cafe was one of our sidewalk cafes that existed. The board has supported. There is no adverse history. So I did email committee members their application, for tonight's meeting, and we did add it because we do have such a small window of 40 days. We must provide comments by the May 20th board meeting. So we did invite Mary Ann Kearns from Cafe here tonight. So Jack, I don't know if you want to take a look at that first, her application, and then we can have a longer discussion about what CB10's process is going to be moving forward with how we were going to proceed with community board review from, a questionnaire to, how we're going to handle, which could be many, many applications. I mean, we had 200 during the pandemic. We don't know how many roadside or how many sidewalk cafes we're going to receive and how we're going to handle the short window in terms of feedback on applications.
Yeah, I have some thoughts here. So the applications for currently existing roadway as well as sidewalk cafes, roadside cafes, as well as sidewalk cafes are due in August, right? That's approximately, for existing ones, that's approximately when we'll still be on break by then, right? So how would that work for us?
Yeah,
the
so the
food.
portal, right, the portal is open now, which is clear because Marianne was able to submit her application. She was the first one that we received. So we may begin to receive them if DOT reviews, accepts it, and forwards it to us from now through, I would say, September. So I could share with you that some boards are developing guidelines in how to respond to, we have 200, there are boards that have 1,000, some boards are creating guidelines with a questionnaire. And for those that may not have adverse history during the summer months, perhaps creating a baseline stipulation agreement that we can provide feedback to the Department of Transportation. Similarly to how we handle block parties. Block parties, we have a set of guidelines. The district office looks at those guidelines and makes recommendations. I'm not saying that we have to, that's just that's just up for, further discussion. We don't know yet when we're going to be receiving these applications. What we do know is we have a short window to provide feedback. So I think that's the question that we have, is how we're going to, handle during the summer months. It is
That
very
makes
difficult.
sense.
Because we would need both in a committee meeting and a public meeting, and that's very unlikely to achieve quorum during the summer months.
That's right. I'm less worried about like the baseline stipulation for future summers. It's just this specific one where there might be a lot of new ones coming in, right? Just to kind of establish that process and understand the stipulations that we're putting across. That being said, we can probably turn to the first application, Cafe, just to understand what the application structure looks like before we talk about the stipulations. I know you've spent a lot of time putting together the questionnaire, so thank you for that.
I do.
That might be good.
So I'll present the application for Cafe, and I just want to mention that Marianne Kearns is on the call. I'm sorry, Steve, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question?
You're muted, Steve.
The only question I have before we get into this, and because I know this issue well, but I'm a little bit confused by it, is that these cafes are permitted in commercial areas only, correct?
They are permitted within the full commercial overlay, both on as long as they're within the 100 feet, they're permitted within the commercial overlay.
The commercial over, so 100 feet.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to share my screen.
The DOT is the one that sends out the applications or notifies them?
I'm sorry. Okay, here we are. So this is what we received, the community board feedback package. And the applicant here is Cafe, 8401 3rd Avenue. As you can see here, recommendation response deadline is June 1st. So we have the ability to comment regarding the cafe's setup's physical footprint and dimension, pedestrian flow, existing curb use, and there's a checkbox here, community board recommends approval, or we recommend denial, or approval with modifications, and a box where applicant agrees to modifications, applicant acknowledges but does not agree with modifications. So this is the form that we would have to fill out and send to DOT. So Cafe is a food service establishment. They provide documentation of their licensing information. Their business hours are Sunday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Here is a photo of Cafe location. Just some photos included in the application. Let's see here. Sorry. So here's a schematic that is provided for 15 tables and 34 seats. So if we see here, this is the 84th Street side. It's an unenclosed sidewalk, cafe plan. It shows here where the cafe barricade would be, where movable seating and tables are. The elevation. And you see here in the area, so there are a few tables on Third, and then on the side street, right off the corner.
How far does the canopy go on the side streets? Trying to read the drawing here. The canopy?
24 feet. That's what I
The
see.
canopy staying on the Third Avenue side, it's above a row of tables.
So these are the plans that are identical, by the way, to what was submitted to the board, you know, pre-pandemic, that were approved and supported by CD10. So 6 tables and 14 seats on Third Avenue, and let me see here, 9 tables and 20 seats on 84th Street.
We want handicapped.
Yeah, including 1 handicap space, you see here on the plans. The community board did do public note, and we did not receive, there's no adverse history, there are no community complaints. So that's pretty much, the application is actually identical to the last time they were before the board in 2018. Oh, I can stop my share to see everyone here. I know that Marianne Kearns is on the call. I don't know, Marianne, if you want to stay on. Questions?
You hear me? I'm not sure if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be saying. The only thing is that I've had outdoor seating on 3rd Avenue and 84th Street for 20 years. And I've always went through the Department of Consumer Affairs. So this is all new, right? Because now we're going through the Department of Transportation. So I'm not sure, like, I followed protocol from the Department of Transportation. I just filled out whatever they told me to fill out. It was the reason why you probably received mine first is because I've had an outdoor seating for so many years that, because it could be very daunting filling out these applications. So someone who's probably doing it for the first time, it's they don't make it easy. So I mean, so I just followed whatever the DOT told me to do, and it passed the DOT, and they cashed my check for $1,050, and now they told me they would have to go through Community Board 10. So that's where Josephine comes.
Thank you, Marianne. Yes, you were the first.
Yes. So I find it's going to be very difficult to monitor 3rd Avenue outdoor sidewalk cafes with just starting to process these applications now. I mean, people are going to try to put table and chairs out because the weather is nice now. And it just seems like that the DOT and the Community Board 10, they weren't in sync with each other. I don't know if it was the DOT. I'm not really sure, because Josephine, you told me that I was the first application. I was shocked by that because the portal had opened up March 1st. So
Right.
I'm shocked that you haven't received any more applications, because there are structures out there right now.
Right, so just to answer that, it is a new process. From what Department of Transportation, and by the way, we've asked them to come to the boards. They provided, one general open to all boards, but it's during the daytime. But having said that, the portal, yes, was open, pretty early, but we really didn't get instructions until very recently, and we're still formulating our questionnaire. So, it is new to us, and we just don't know how many applications we will receive.
Okay.
Jack?
Any questions from the board about this application?
Is the application only in English? Jack, I just, if the application is only in English. Or
Is that a question to the applicant or a question for, like, I guess, DOT potentially?
That would be a question to DOT. I'll get that answer. I don't know.
Yeah, because when I went online and read her application, I was so impressed. I thought this is like an example of the right way to do it. But then I kept thinking, if English isn't somebody's first language, like she said, the word daunting is probably the best word to use.
Okay, Stephanie?
Would you please remind me how frequently the application must be submitted or how long the license goes for?
Yes, so the applications can be submitted through August 3rd. And once the license is issued, I believe, is it 4 years?
I believe it's 4 years.
4 years.
And are we looking at a whole slew of new applications, like the first since the pandemic, or are there still applications that were, or licenses that have not yet expired? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So to be clear, the temporary program for outdoor dining for sidewalks and roadside will end August 3rd, unless an application is completed by an establishment to continue using their sidewalk cafe or roadside cafe. If you're an establishment that has had a roadside or a sidewalk cafe and you choose not to continue on in the temporary program, they have to come down. If you choose to apply for the new permanent program, they can remain through November during the review process. But everything comes down in November for the roadside cafes, if you haven't reapplied. Sidewalk cafes are year-round now. So they still have to be movable, but they are year-round.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I didn't realize the sidewalk cafes had been put under the temporary program, because I know previously there was a process to approve them.
That has all been shifted, as Marianne said, from Department of Consumer Affairs to DOT.
Okay, thank you. It needed repeating for me, so I appreciate the explanation again.
Yeah.
And the outside sheds have to come down like in December?
The outside sheds have to come down, I believe it's November. They have to come down November. Everyone has to come down in November. If you have applied to participate in the permanent program, well, now they will be seasonal.
And they have to use their configuration for.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. If you don't apply by August 3rd, they have to come down.
And
many
the seasonality. Sorry, Josephine.
No, I finished up.
Oh, the seasonality is only on the roadside cafes, not for applications like these, which is our sidewalk, right?
Correct. Steve?
Oh, I just got my answer.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because New York One and some other stations are interviewing restaurant owners about getting the permit or taking them down. And a lot of them are hedging towards taking it down. Because they said they have to take it down and then rebuild it and then to store it.
Yeah, I do
That's a
believe
big
we're gonna
issue.
get many more sidewalk cafe
Yeah.
applications than roadsides. A lot of the roadsides have already come
And
down.
we'll get our parking back, yay.
Okay, so are there any other questions for Marianne?
So then we would need a motion for this particular application.
Is there a motion? I see
Carmen?
Carmen. Is there a second?
Me.
Larry?
All right, thank you, Larry. All right, so the motion is to approve this application without additional comment and without additional stipulation. So as is. All in favor? Raise your hand, please. Okay. All can't never remember the word denials.
Any opposed?
Opposed. Sorry, I can never remember the word. Steve. Okay. And any recusals.
Steve is opposed.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, one opposed and, okay, no recusals, motion carries. Thank you, Mary Ann. So we will be, providing, a motion to approve, your application to the full board on May 20th.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have
Okay,
a-
we'll be, take care. Okay, so now, team, going back to the last item on the agenda is creating a guideline or policy questionnaire. I'll put up on the screen the draft questionnaire. Okay. So the draft questionnaire is very similar to the, it's really mirrored on the State Liquor Authority questionnaire we do for SLA licensed establishments. So the first question is, any owner or prospective owner of an establishment checking off either roadway cafe or sidewalk cafe. And then so here we ask for the return of photographs of the inside and outside of the establishment, schematics of the sidewalk, but all of those are, and now that we see an application, are part of the application that we received. Then we ask for postings of notices to file must be done at least 10 days before the meeting. And that would be a posting that says that the community board is going to be having a meeting to discuss their application in their front window.
Sorry, what does FSEP stand for?
I'm sorry?
On the application it says FSEP.
I don't know. It's a question to ask. Then the next page is just simple, just reiterating name of applicant, street address, contact information, manager information. Additional contacts. We had emergency contact information in case we need to reach out if we have a question. Operational details, hours, occupancy. Are you applying for, or do you already have an SLA license is one of the questions we ask. Does the SLA license include the outdoor premise? Will you be hosting private parties and promotional events utilizing the outdoor space? Does the establishment plan to have music? If you have plans to have music, what type, background music? But amplified music is not allowed in the outdoor cafe. And then some stipulations, applicant must address the following with the committee, closing 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, midnight Monday. Midnight Fridays and Saturdays. Only ambient lighting is to be used, umbrellas and or soundproofing to be installed. Must observe the New York City Fire Department codes, no open flame, no fire pits, no barbecue. These are just things that have come up in questions in the past. Outdoor spaces must have seated, food service.
Outdoor heating?
They cannot be outdoor heated. No. French doors, garage door windows that open slide roll-ups and retractable roofs. If these doors, windows have hours to close them, for example, Sunday through Thursday up to 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday up to 11. Observe New York City health and mental hygiene regulations regarding smoking, including designated smoking areas and outdoor spaces. Then we asked you agree to no smoking in all outdoor spaces. The outdoor space will be closed and vacated by midnight on Friday and Saturday and 11 p.m. on all other days. The outdoor space will not allow standing space for patrons to drink or smoke. The applicant will do everything in their power to provide an effective sound baffling control. The applicant will enforce a quiet environment to the outdoor space so not to disturb nearby residents. Then we asked, will the applicant have a lighting plan that will allow safe usage of the outdoor space without disrupting neighbors? And for roadway cafes, does your establishment have a storage location for your setup during non-roadway season? And that's really pretty much it. I mean, these are just questions that kind of culminated from things that we had talked about in the past. I don't know if you think it's too extensive, if you think we can just simplify it a little bit. So I'm gonna throw it back.
Some of
that
this
we can-
stuff is actually a reminder to some of these establishments.
Can I have a quick question around can they change their plans after their initial application to DOT? Let's say like restructuring or things like that.
No, I don't believe so. I think that the submitted plans and diagrams are what they agree to, and I would imagine if they do a change to that, they may have to do another application. But Jack, that's a great question. I could go back and ask DOT that question. But my understanding is they must adhere to the schematic that's provided.
If it's the case where like they can change something afterwards and like DLT has to approve, but no CB10 involvement or CB involvement is required, then we should probably put that as a stipulation just to make sure we're in that process.
Okay, great. So that if there is a change to the schematic, that they must notify the board and return, if it's not.
Right. And then just to answer a question Larry had earlier, FSEP is a food service establishment permit. Steve?
Yeah, is there when it says closing times and opening times, I understand that, does that mean that's when they are allowed to open and start setting up? Or does that mean, like, for example, that they can close at 1 a.m. and that they can, be closing everything until 2? You follow me?
No, I think it's just the closing times.
You mean for customer service?
Correct. Outside. Inside are different, inside could be very different hours, especially if you're a SLA licensed premise, You can operate inside, some establishments are open until,
But we're not talking about the sidewalk cafe. We're talking about the street, right?
Yeah, the street cafe.
The sidewalk doesn't need an application?
Both sidewalk and roadside need an application. They're
okay.
different. Because the roadside is seasonal and the sidewalk cafe is year round. There's a time difference between the two. We have 40 days to review sidewalk cafe and 30 days to review the roadside.
Okay, then with sidewalk cafe, there's a significant difference because sidewalk cafes then have to break down. So I'm just a little bit confused because that could go on for an hour. And is there any kind of a restriction on that?
Good question. I know the restriction is just the hours where they can operate or not operate.
Right, but the word operate is is kind of mercurial because operating means operating the whole thing. I understand fully with respect to the street cafes, but as far as the sidewalk cafes are concerned, that's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's not on the application that we just viewed what the new application looks like.
Yeah.
I think that the only question that we have that is not on their application involves the state liquor authority, specifics.
Okay.
So, I don't know if,
It's ambiguous, that's what I'm saying.
yeah, I can ask that question.
Are you suggesting, Steve, that we should have a clarification stipulation where any outdoor furniture must be removed within 30 minutes after, let's say, like the 12 p.m. or 11 p.m.?
I'm not suggesting a specific one, but I do think that there is an ambiguity there because they could go on for literally hours, and that doesn't seem appropriate to me. You know, I understand that they're gonna probably say they want to have it until, say, 2 o'clock or something like that. But then if they could be finished within 20 minutes, I don't think it's, you know, like a half an hour or something of that nature, but I do think that there has to be some kind of a timing there. It's just a missed thing.
So Jack, I think, you know, we do have one more month before we go on hiatus. That we should, certainly think about, are we okay with this questionnaire? Should we begin using it? Should we receive any applications from now to June? And then think about how we as a committee and a board will respond to applications that we receive during the summer. And should establish guidelines for review. I mean, it's a tough one.
Yeah,
You
we should
know?
definitely speak about the guidelines for the summer one during the June meeting. For this application itself, what I want to clarify one more thing, which is what part of the process is this questionnaire in? So the food establishment place, they applied at DOT. Do they also fill out this application simultaneously, or do they fill out that application, DOT approved, and then they have to fill out this application separately?
Yeah, so they would go on the portal, complete their application with DOT. DOT then does its review. When DOT says this is okay, we think it has met all of the requirements of the plan, it then gets their endorsement and is forwarded to the community board. So once we receive it, it means it's met all of the, 8-foot requirements on the schematic, distances between, bus stops, etc. It then comes to us. So once we receive it, we would then send out the questionnaire. So it could be a small window, it really is only a 40-day. So if we were to receive an application tomorrow, May 10th, we would really have until the June 20th board meeting. So we would be kind of short a couple of days because our meeting is short.
Sorry, Steve, can you repeat?
No, I said you'd be excited.
Yeah, I mean, it's my view that, this questionnaire is fairly complete, and it'd be good to get some responses on it. So, to be used between now and June is fine. And just give the community a little bit more time to give additional feedback. And of course, feedback can be given offline about the questionnaire. But I don't see any reason why we would not stop using it. Let's do this application that came in tomorrow.
So we could go ahead, use this application for any that we receive from now to, moving forward. And then we will decide in June how we're going to handle the summer months. How's that? So the committee has 2 meetings, has a meeting, joint committee with CB7 where they're taking the lead. The next TNT meeting, I think it's June 5th. It will be at CB7. It's a hybrid meeting, so we could join in on Zoom. So we do have another meeting planned to provide the public with a presentation on the 7th Avenue Holly Place safety proposal. That will be an in-person meeting. Yet to be determined. We'll have to figure that out. And maybe, either at that meeting, or we could schedule a call before the June 24th board meeting to talk about guidelines for the summer.
Are there any objections from the committee about that plan?
None here.
I will say this committee had a quiet start to this year, but a very loud end to this year. So.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, excuse me, sorry, Jeff. It seems like something's wrong if the portal opened in March. Here it is mid-May. We got one application. What is everybody then maybe thinking? I'm not going to continue, and I'm going to.
No, not at all. I will share in response to that question. I will share. We have heard from many restaurants who are either hiring, people to help assist them navigate through this application process. Many of them feel they have until August to do this.
Okay.
So they are either hiring professionals or they're putting their application together. I wish there were a way that we could gauge it, but we really don't. I mean, some people may wait until July and August and then we'll be fine, you know, until September, but we just don't know.
You don't scoff a lot, I'm just gonna say, I'm not gonna bother.
No, I think that people will apply because they know that enforcement will come if they don't. And, you know, I do believe we're gonna get more sidewalk cafes than roadside cafes for sure, because just in speaking to some of the restaurant owners, and many have already come down. So we just don't know. It's an unknown. But I think many people just are not aware. I think they're aware, but I think they're in the process of completing the steps to get everything in for DOT.
No, I'm glad you know that, because I was like, what's happening? It's like this,
Yeah.
it's like sending out a wedding invitation and nobody's responding, you know?
I should also note that for roadside cafes, as in the ones that are on the roads themselves, DOT is required to do a public hearing, regardless of CB approval. And so I'm not sure how they publicize that, but we should be involved in that publication to make sure, you know, whenever they have a public hearing, the community hears about it.
Okay, will do.
See, did you have one last question?
No, I'm just kind of hanging out.
Thank you.
All right, let's close the meeting. 1 minute to go.
That's it. And that's it.
Great.
That's complete our agenda. So we just need a motion to
Job.
adjourn.
Good job, Jack.
Good job, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, great
Thank you
job.
so much.